The Polestar 3 is here for 2025. It's the brand's first two-row crossover SUV, and it's beautiful. This launch edition includes a 111 kilowatt-hour battery, 2 electric motors, and lots of Android Automotive OS-driven tech inside. Let's take a closer look. Looking at the front of the SUV, the thing that stands out for me right away is this super cool front wing right here. So you've got the Polestar logo up here, but then a gap that goes right through and off under the hood this way. So it really has this interesting effect, raises the front clip just a little bit, at the same time lowering the frontal area a little bit. So visually, it's bigger than it actually is. I find that really interesting and really nice looking. You've also got these thin, striking, and fairly small headlamps right here, and something that kind of mimics the shape down here, this gloss black down low that runs in between the upper and lower grills. And when I say grill, you know, upper space and lower grill. And then you have this separate little indicator way off to the side over here. The lower grill is an actual opening down here, but you've got active shutters just a few inches behind the gloss black here. So this is actually closed unless ventilation is needed. So that's interesting to see that so clearly right there. And there are some sensors on either side. And then a little bit more obvious is this front camera right here. By the way, I don't know how well the camera will pick this up. This says Smart Zone Sensor Cluster right there. This to me is a distinct departure from previous design language I've seen in the Polestar 1 and 2. And it's welcome. It's very welcome. I think this is a great look. But now let's look under the hood. And there it is. Your nice big blank black space. I will say it right away, your windshield washer fluid is on the driver's side, way off to the side over here, easy to reach. But in the center, this is your front trunk, and you have a whopping 1.1 cubic feet of storage up here. Yes, it is vast, but you know, it's plenty of room for a Velcroed owner's manual and those types of things, and any space more than nothing is welcome. Underneath all this black plastic is one of 2 electric motors. They are 180 kilowatts each. That is 241.4 horsepower each. The launch edition Polestar 3 gets a grand total of 483 horsepower and 620 pound-feet of torque, evenly split between the front and rear axle. Yeah, not bad. Looking at the Polestar 3 in profile, you get a good sense of its sleek 2-box shape and this paint color, which Polestar calls magnesium. I would personally call it like an off-white, a bluish white almost. And I have to say, I think it's a nice looking color. I think it matches the rest of the car well. Polestar likes to advertise that you get the 111 kilowatt hour battery pack and 360 kilowatts of power. I mentioned under the hood that translates to 483 horsepower. Polestar says that's 489 horsepower. That is 489 metric horsepower, which is 1.4% different than US SAE horsepower. I do like that the side view mirror is entirely separate from the main body of the car, and we have this nice gloss black mount right here, in addition to the cover being body color on top, gloss black beneath, and then a nice little reflector lens right here. Matches with the gloss black window trim that you see going across right here, which also matches the gloss black B and C pillars right here, as well as the panoramic glass roof right there that all kind of blends in together. And the second row and beyond it even has some window tint to match it further. Down low, going the entire perimeter of the car, you have this matte black that makes up the base of the fender flares, comes across and it has this pretty big bulky chunk right here, but then it is nicely split by this polished metal in here. And then that of course continues on forward through the front fender flare and on to the front clip of the car, on the other side, etc., etc. And when you're looking from front to back, it's nice and clear to see this rear fender flare right here. Just kind of haunches out about the middle of the door. You see this character line form, and form a little bit of a shelf and create the rear fender flare. And there is actually purpose to this fender flare. I'll go over that in just a moment. And then you can see the roof line kind of subtly slopes down as you get to the rear end, where a lot more gloss black and interesting design elements come here to meet. I will go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen right now and let you know that I have a lot more information in the description. A 21-inch wheel is standard on the launch edition of the Polestar 3, but my test car has the $2,300 optional 22-inch wheels, and they look quite good. I quite like the gloss black polished metal mix in the design. I also quite like looking at these big Brembo brake calipers right behind them, and those are big discs as well. But there's something you should know. Going from the 21 to 22-inch wheel does hurt efficiency. The Polestar 3 is quite sensitive to the size of wheel and tire it has. The 21-inch wheel is the most efficient. The 22-inch wheel is decidedly less efficient. And on some cars, there's a 20-inch wheel. Even that is less efficient than the 21. But then we're in Michigan in late January, and we have winter tires mounted on this particular Polestar 3. That hurts efficiency even more. So my particular driving range is quite a bit lower than what Polestar advertises, but I think a lot of it is this tire that's causing the discrepancy. The cold weather doesn't help either. Also, this is a two-row crossover SUV, but a sporty one in many ways, and that includes the wheel and tire setup. This is a staggered setup with two 65 series tires in front and two 95 series tires in the rear. Looking at the Polestar 3 from the rear, I think the design language carries through back here and really nicely. I already pointed out the gloss black that goes right across, starting at the base of the top of the roof mounted spoiler right here. But then these lights that just lit up for me because I'm near the car have this really cool taillight design. Starts here, curves around, and then goes straight across to the other side. I think that's a really cool design element. Tastefully sized Polestar logo just beneath that. We do have a camera right there. And then as you track down, we get more of that matte black plastic to make up the bumper and the base of the rear of this SUV. And my faux pas, no worries here. No tailpipes, so no faux tailpipes, no worries. Front to back, this is seriously one of the most beautiful SUVs I've seen in a long time. I really like the styling of the Polestar 3, and I think that carries from the front clip to the rear clip, and the profile of the car connects the two together really nicely. And it is an SUV, which means we do have storage. Let's take a look at the cargo area. As you can see, a wave of a foot will open the tailgate and reveal 21 cubic feet of storage behind the second row. And it is a fairly high loading floor, but you do have a privacy panel right here and a net here on this side to compartmentalize the storage a little bit. And you do also have underfloor storage right here, and it goes pretty deep. About 18 inches in, it goes down about 6 inches. But right here at the base, it goes down more than a foot. That's almost to my elbow. That is a significant amount of space, over 3 cubic feet of storage space according to Polestar. And that 21 cubic feet figure I told you does include that underfloor space. We also have a small porthole there for skis to pass through, and an elastic net on this side right here, in addition to a bunch of tie downs. And on the passenger side over here, we have 12-volt power and these two buttons right here. The launch edition of the Polestar 3 has an air suspension, which can raise and lower as needed. And if you want it a little bit lower, that's press of a button easy. Hold it down, and it actually lowers pretty darn significantly. That is at least, I would say, 2 inches, maybe even 3 inches of lowering just by hitting that button. You do have to hold it down. You can see it's not a one tap like I tried at first, but that is really handy and works really quickly. I'll go ahead and put it back up. Yeah, big difference. And if you need more than 21 cubic feet of storage and only have you and a passenger, that is easy to do. Pull a couple of levers and you have 50 cubic feet of storage and room for you and that passenger. And I would say enough room for my bike, but let's find out. It's a little bit on the narrow side, but it fits lengthwise just fine. Enough room for my bike with room to spare. All right, let's take a look inside. Normally in a situation like this, the first thing I would do is go in and start the car, but with the Polestar, you don't really start it. You just kind of get in and it starts working. So I'm just gonna walk in. And the reason why I even mention that is because we do have 3 zones of climate control, as well as heated rear seats right there. And below that, 2 USB Type-C ports right there. We do also have this nice Bowers & Wilkins premium audio system, and this lovely just trim in the interior as well. I like that much of the trim is a lighter color to just really open up the space visually a bit. You'll see that we have dark and light elements contrasting each other, but that most of it is in fact the lighter color. And here's an interesting little detail on the material of the interior. Actually, before I get in, one thing I want to show you, because this is a launch edition, it includes the Plus pack. And because of that, we get soft closing doors. As long as you get it to that first latch, it'll do the rest of the work for you. The Plus pack also includes the premium sound system that I showed you, a heated steering wheel, heated rear seats, thank you very much, and more than that even. I am 5 feet 11 inches or 181 centimeters tall, and as you can see, I have several inches of knee room. I do also have headroom, courtesy of this panoramic glass roof right here. We have this interesting like ledge to the glass, but then my head is clear of all that, so it's nice and expansive. So that part's pretty good. The seat bottom is a little bit on the low side, but you're also cantilevered back a little bit. So thigh support isn't actually so bad. I'm just kind of tilted back a little bit. Put all that together and I have a little bit less than a 90-degree bend in my knees. And of course, an armrest with cup holders. So yeah, perfectly pleasant back here. No worries at all. I would be reasonably comfortable for a long-ish road trip. Too long and I think I'd eventually want to stretch my legs more, but it's not so bad. And here is the other side of that ski pass-through, by the way. Okay, let's go to the front. Of course, the fronts also have the soft closing doors. You also have some controls on the door, and it is a power adjusting seat, and the control is this guy right here. But that's kind of about it. We'll get to that in a bit more detail in just a moment. We do have a nice big expansive space under the armrest here, so plenty of space for whatever you want down here. And no buttons to the left of the steering wheel, but we do have this nice little chorus wood trim piece right here. That is a nice touch. And metal kick plate down here with the Polestar logo in the center. This is your 9-inch fully digital instrument cluster right there. And you do have a couple of options, but it is fairly minimalistic, I have to say. Then you do also have a stalk for your Prindle and another stalk for headlights and turn signals. And then the steering wheel itself is a nice and thick rim, fairly small diameter with a flat bottom right here. It's got controls as well on the right and the left, but they're variable. These controls mean different things at different times. Everything is handled by the main 14.5-inch portrait mounted display right here. This is Android Automotive OS right here that runs all this, which means of course we have Google everything. Hey Google, set the temperature to 75 degrees.
Got it. Changing the temperature to 75 degrees.
The launch edition also comes with the Pilot Pack, and the Pilot Pack includes Pilot Assist, Lane Change Assist, 360-degree camera views, which if I go right here, you'll see I have this camera button right here, and that'll give me 360-degree views of the Polestar and everything around it, and a head-up display right there. But let's go back to the steering wheel for a second. As I said, the Prindle's right here. There's no start-stop button. You get in with the key fob in your possession, everything just starts working. I didn't touch anything. All I do is put the car in drive. It indicates drive like that, and off you go. It's upset because I'm not currently wearing my seatbelt, but we're not actually going anywhere. Once you're in drive, if you press this down again, that turns on adaptive cruise control. So hitting drive a second time is what turns on cruise control, and then the buttons to the left are how you speed up and slow down. Yeah, interesting. These controls to the right do a myriad of things. Let me show you. If I go to settings, controls, you can see that I can adjust a whole bunch of stuff on the car, including the wipers and the side view mirrors. I hit the right mirror, and then I use these controls to move the mirror around. If I hit left mirror, it would be the same controls to move the left mirror, and if I hit steering wheel, it's the same controls to raise, lower, tuck in, or pull out the steering wheel. I also adjust the head-up display with these buttons. Maybe you can see it right there. It's kind of in the light, so it might be a little hard. So these controls control kind of sort of everything. And that was just one section. You also have the lights, locking mechanisms, and even opening the trunk and the glove box. Polestar kind of took the iPhone approach to things, where they found a way to remove a bunch of buttons from the steering, from the control panel, and everything is done with the touchscreen. And it works pretty well, generally speaking, but there's definitely occasions where I would just prefer to have some buttons. So I imagine if you became a Polestar 3 owner, you'd get used to it pretty fast, and it would all be great, but it does take some getting used to. You do have some other cool settings here. Of course, I showed you Google Assistant, Google Maps, Sirius XM, all that, but you also have this fascinating information right here, and a lot of different information that you can look at right here. Settings, this is another way to get to the same thing. You can see that there's just a myriad of things you can change. Google Assist, so how much assistance do you want while driving? This is effectively drive modes. We'll get to that in just a minute. But then also, this is a fun one right here. You can look at YouTube if you want. And, you know, I'm partial to a couple of channels. What can I say? Beneath all that, here are the first two zones of your 3-zone climate control. We do also have heated and ventilated seats and a heated steering wheel. We also have yet another way to get to changing the settings on the car down here. And if you start at the home screen, that opens up these controls right here. So there is a simpler way to open the glove box or adjust the steering wheel and those types of things right there. Beneath that, we do have this 2-tier lower center console, and that includes 2 more USB Type-C ports right there, and this handy little extra storage right here, and another shelf down low. Up here, we do have a wireless smartphone charger right here. We do have a button for play, pause, and volume right here, a couple of cup holders, and some lower center console storage right there. Looking up, we do have a couple of controls for lights and things like that, but this is a fixed panoramic roof right there, not a moon roof or anything like that. And finally, here's one lovely little center speaker for the premium sound system. All right, let's talk drive modes. As you can see, we have a bunch of different individual settings for the car, and that includes one pedal drive, how much regenerative braking you get as you lift off the throttle, steering feel. You can also raise the suspension for rockier terrain. You can also turn off creep. So that's that feeling of the car moving as you lift off the brake, as traditional automatics do. Stability control, all those things. Raised suspension / hill descent will actually raise the ride height of the car at speeds up to 25 miles an hour to give you more ground clearance to get over things. Here, let me show you. And you can see that it is raising right now. It does take a little while, so let me show you at the end. Pretty slick. I will go ahead and turn it off. See how it quickly drops? It drops faster than it raises, certainly. We do also have shock absorber adjustment. Polestar calls it suspension feel. As you can see, you have these 3 different settings: nimble and firm and standard. Standard is pretty soft. Nimble is a little bit firmer. Firm is a lot firmer. So there you have it, a close look at the brand new Polestar 3. The long range single motor is the least expensive version you can buy, and it costs $68,900. The launch edition is a bit more, mostly thanks to that second motor. It costs $80,300. And my test car did have those special 22-inch wheels, and it cost $82,600. But I have to tell you, this thing is slick and clever and very, very pretty. But I do wish it had a few more buttons inside. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you very much for watching.